terms of process, I won't dwell on this greatly, but as I said, we have a common process. So you may be applying just for member, or you may be applying for member and, in this case, the standard route to professional registration. So you would submit your application. We check that, and these up pointing arrows are all points at which we could come back to you with feedback, requesting more information, etc. We check for your application for completion. At the next stage, your application will go out to 2 independent assessors. If you're applying just for member, that will be one of our membership assessor team, trained nuclear professionals who do that on a voluntary basis for us. They would review your application independently. If you were also applying for registration, then we would select the appropriate members of the assessor team. So if you're applying for a chartered engineer, it would be 2 chartered engineers, 2 chartered scientists, etc. At that point, they may come back and say, well, we feel the application needs strengthening in this area or that area, hence the feedback loop, or they will normally make a recommendation. They don't make a decision, but they would make a recommendation. And that recommendation is normally either progress to professional review interview, or sometimes they'll put discuss if there's a grey area, and we try and standardize our assessments to make sure that we're applying consistent standards across all applicants. Or they can suggest at that time that there is a resubmission. All of those recommendations are reviewed by our membership committee, and again, that's part of our standardization process. So at that point, we may come back to you and say, okay, we feel the next step is X, Y, or Z. In terms of professional review interview, with the current situation and with the direction that we're taking with technology, that is increasingly going to be conducted by this sort of platform, by GoToMeeting, by Skype, etc. It would normally involve 2 professional reviewers allocated by the NI and yourself, and we have guidance notes and support to help with you in preparing for that. Or it could take place at or near to your workplace is the ideal, on a face-to-face basis, and we would liaise with you about that, and we try and get the interviews in with a reasonable time scale. The online option allows us to do that much more flexibly than we've been able to do in the past. Okay, just one further thing to say at that stage of this process, if I can get my screen to work right, which is for membership applications, we regularly interview. I'd say the majority of membership applications do have an interview as part of the process, but not always. So if your application form addressed all of the requirements, addressed the nuclear delta, and it was very clear to the assessors how you met the nuclear delta, that all of the other requirements that we've talked about job role, qualification, etc., were well covered, adequately covered, then it can be the recommendation is to just go straight forward to being recognised for ratification, and what we again quite term is talked about being elected as a member or elected as a fellow, and the membership committee can take that decision, and then the final box is that election to those things. It's worth caveating that statement as well by saying for incorporated engineer and all of the chartered grades, then the professional review interview is absolutely mandatory, and you would be interviewed before completing the process. Okay, so quick look at the slides. On the top of the page there, you can see a link. If you just go onto the NI website and look under membership and then the member tab, the bottom of the page, you will find this table, and each of those forms is a web link on the website. I'm not going to click through to the web page now. I don't trust my technology or my capability. But what you would then do is you'd be able to download the relevant form, and you can see there most of the combinations and options are shown. So it's a case of choosing the right form. If you are in the situation where you are thinking about applying to be a fellow and also to apply for registration, and we've had at least one instance of this recently, then we ask that you contact the membership@nuclearinstitute.com email address and request the form for that specific combination. It's more about web space on the web page than anything else, but we would supply the relevant form to you and would discuss your application with you at that point. The guidance notes are also available on the same page, so that box that you see on the right hand side of the slide, you can scroll down and get to the guidance notes. Those guidance notes are largely about completion of the documents and supporting evidence. There are other resources available in the member area and in the nuclear delta area of the website. So you can download the nuclear delta standard, and you can download an evidence guide for the nuclear delta from that section as well. Again, more detail on that in the forthcoming webinars. Another couple of things to say, particularly people who've been considering an application for a while. We recently took the decision to reduce the number of proposers and referees. So if you are applying for member of the Nuclear Institute, then we now only require that you have one proposer countersigns the form. It used to be two. And for fellow, it's one proposer and one referee, and that is because we're basically asking for the fellow for people to attest to your significant individual contribution. So that can be very wide and diverse. So we are looking for that. And the last sort of recent update is that, in line with Engineering Council requirements in particular, we do require that you submit a CPD plan as well as a record of your CPD for the last 2 years with your application. And that's a kind of new or strengthened requirement, if I can put it that way. We've got a step-by-step guide to your application process on the 2nd of June. So if you're thinking about all of this and you're looking around, then we will walk through every step of completing the application on that session on the 2nd of June. Okay. So last slide from me, and in terms of the actual content, and that's about accessing support. So as I've just said, downloading the relevant form and guidance. Join as an associate member if you aren't already, and you can do that. I should have said this by navigating to the associate member, so membership associate member page on the website, and there's an option to join online. You don't need to ring us up or send us emails, but if you have any issues with that, by all means do get in contact. If you do decide that you're going to prepare and submit an application, then do let us know at the email address there. It gets us in contact, it gets us to keep in touch with you. Then don't hesitate to contact us with any queries, whether it's interpreting requirements, discussing how they apply to you, etc. And what we do is we do these periodic reminders and prompts, including advance warning of next submission deadline. So it's all really to try and help you get to the end of the process. It's not a massively onerous process, but it does require some thinking and planning about, well, what is my evidence, and how do I actively support nuclear safety and security, etc. And then last but not least, you'll be sick of hearing me do a plug, but the further webinars. And the membership manager is, so those are the webinars that are coming up, and the dates. You can book onto all of them. We've now got a webinars calendar on the website, so you can just click through on that and book onto any that are of interest. The contact details as well. So Hansa is our membership manager and can be contacted through those routes. We will circulate these slides, a PDF of the slides, so you don't need to scribble this down. And I tend to have the overall responsibility, but if you've got more technical queries, or not sure what the right route is for you, that sort of thing, then I'm more than happy to take those inquiries. What I normally do is I then go in search of a more expert person than I am. So in terms of if you're looking at particularly in science or environmental, then I would seek to engage with the relevant expert assessors in that area to give you the best answers that we can. So that is effectively the main content that we wanted to cover. So it's really a case of over to you for any questions.